So we're going to cover what's new in Chrome DevTools. I am Paul Irish.
I'm Jason Miller.
And we're going to be capturing what's been going on from the Chrome DevTools team in the past years, the features and functionality, all the new stuff. Jason?
Just says joke. Should have removed that slide.
OK. We're going to be covering a few different things. We're going to go through authoring, accessibility, performance, and JavaScript, kind of capturing different feature areas of the DevTools. And to kick things off, we want to look at authoring. So in authoring, this is really the experience of us crafting a nice user experience for everyone who's enjoying our web content. And this is creating a nice feel, a nice look. And there's a few different ways to do this, right? I can, first possible way is kind of the classic, the reliable way. I work in my editor, I load it up, I tweak things in DevTools, copy paste what I like, bring it back to my editor, save and refresh. Kind of that old save and refresh cycle. Good, reliable, always there. Now, previous IOs, we've also talked about workspaces. This is a way where you take your entire project, like your Git checkout, essentially, drag it into DevTools, and DevTools can now work with that, save to disk, and you have access to the entire folder there, and really makes for a fast iteration cycle.
Right.
Now, this is great if it's your project. But there's also this other case of, I want to make changes, and I don't necessarily have like a Git checkout of it, but I still want to try things out. And that's what local overrides is about. So, like, Jason, if you wanted to make changes on paulirish.com.
Right, if I wanted to deface your header or whatever.
Sure, OK.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so far you do not have Git access, and so that works for me.
Yeah.
But local overrides would work for your defacement.
Right.
So there you go. I'm going to show a little bit of how this works in actuality. So let's switch over to my screen for a moment. So we have here the Google I/O extended site. Nice little page. But I feel like making some changes. And it's not my site, but I figure, why not? All right, so first thing is we go head over to Sources panel. And in this little drop down, we go to Overrides. The first thing that we have to do just once is set this up. So we just need to select off folder for overrides. So I'm just going to go right in here. And you just need to put this someplace on disk, really anywhere. And we're going to be using the disk to kind of back all these changes. So once you select, you click Allow so that DevTools has permission to work with this, this folder.
It only gets permission inside that folder, not root.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, so I think that's all good. And now, well, let's make some changes. So this guy right here, actually, I figure a background, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, something nice.
Let's go with
hot pink.
Hot pink is a good choice. I like hot pink. Let's try that out.
Oh.
So hot pink.
Hot pink. Ooh, there it is.
That is classy.
That's
Maybe
nice.
some padding, though. Probably needs padding.
Yeah, there's some padding up.
All right. Let's give that a shot.
Pretty.
Now, I don't know if you saw that. Let me just do that again. Refresh. Ooh. Sticking around post-refresh. I like that. I like that. Now, the cool thing here is that I can make changes to kind of anything. Say, for instance, this text beneath here. Developers hosted 534 extended viewing parties. Cool. I think that number needs a little bit of an upgrade. I don't know exactly where this text is. It could be in a JavaScript file, maybe the HTML. But let's go find it. So I'm just going to select and copy that. And we want to find it. So Command-Shift-P brings up this little command palette.
Right.
Nice. And I'm going to show search. This is going to search across all the files that are loaded into the page. And OK, yeah, so here we have just the HTML. All right, easy enough. So we can just make a change to that over 9,000. Good. We hit Control-S, and you can see this little purple. And this is telling me that this is linked. This file is linked to the network file. And so I have the one on disk and the network. And this also means if I right-click this and open it, this is just, this HTML file that I just changed is just a regular old file on disk. I can drag this into my text editor and make any changes there, and then they'll instantly be reflected if I just refresh over 9,000.
There you go.
Nice.
Pretty nice.
Right. So this enables a lot of really cool things, and and you can make nice changes, prototype things out, go wild. If you get to a point where you're like, okay, made some changes, they feel good, but what were they all again? There's another little pane that you can access to just summarize everything that's happened. Again, you can use Command-Shift-P, or you could just open up the little menu down here at the bottom and go to Changes. And the Changes view was just going to tell you what changed. Now, in this case, it's minified CSS, so it's not entirely useful to look at the diff. But then again, I could always open up this file and pretty print it. And at that point, that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go back to the slides. All right. So you saw it in my demo, search across all files. And we've been looking at other places to surface more content via search.
Yeah, so one of the ways that we're doing that is through improvements to the network search. So in the network tab, we've had search for a while. It's just like a bar that shows up at the bottom. And that bar is only searching URLs. So it's useful, if you're looking for something that's in the URL, but not quite so useful if you're looking for something that isn't in the URL. So now there's a new icon in here, and also shortcut Control F.
Yeah, Control F, Command F.
Yeah. And that's going to pull up a new search sidebar. Search sidebar searches through headers and their values in addition to all those other pieces of information. So this is really useful. Let's say I wanted to search for cache control headers. Cache control headers are going to tell me whether the browser is going to cache stuff locally or not, and it'd be good to get kind of an overview of what we're sending down. So if I hit enter on this, it'll show me an aggregated list of all of the cache control headers that's sent down. And you can click them in the left. You can see the details of those on the right. It's very nice. And there's still the familiar controls in the header for case-sensitive search, regex-based search. This is really useful if you want to search for authorization headers to know which of your requests are authenticated, cookies. Yeah. There's lots of great use cases for that.
Have you had like specific domains and you're looking up what CSP headers, references to domains, stuff like that?
Right.
It's powerful stuff.
Yeah, so we're trying to show you kind of an at-a-glance overview in this interface. And there's other places in DevTools where we have kind of similar problems here, like huge lists of CSS variables would be one example.
Yeah, variables. Raise your hand if you guys use CSS variables, custom properties, good stuff. I love them too. Yeah, we use them all the time on the Chrome DevTools themselves. And we've been looking at it and wondering, they could probably use some upgrades in the experience.
Right.
So there's a few things. So if you've seen some variables before, they might look a little bit something like this. We have a fail color, we have a warning color. Good. But then you're like, what was that again? So today, you'll see something a little bit different. You'll just see a little color swatch placed there. We recognize that this is referencing a color value, and so a little color swatch seems good. Easy enough. You can also just hover on that variable name, and the tooltip will resolve the actual value. Works with colors, works with anything, any custom property, really. But with colors, there was one more thing that's pretty cool. If you open up the color picker, down at the bottom is this kind of color palette. And this is the material design color palette. A lot of nice, tasteful choices of colors in there.
Yep.
But there are a few other palettes available. And a brand new one is CSS variables. So this is kind of cool. You click into this, and this is listing the CSS variables that apply to this element right here. So it's basically while there may be many, many variables in the page, these are only the variables that apply to this specific element via the cascade.
Right.
So that's kind of cool. So right now we're hovering over text link color, and if I select this, the cool thing is we apply var text link color instead of the resolved color value.
Cool.
So
it doesn't use the hex; it uses the actual variable when it injects it.
Kind of like what you'd expect to have.
That's pretty clever. Yeah.
Now, when you choose colors, it's important you choose something that looks good, tasteful, but also accessible. You want to make sure that what you have is an accessible choice. And so we've introduced some features to make that a little bit easier. And we're going to walk through this little video where we explore that. So I'm looking at this page, and I want to tweak the foreground color of this text. So I bring up the color picker. And it says contrast ratio right there. It says it's not very good right now. But as I drag the color around, the contrast ratio is going to update. It's kind of cool. And if you open that section up, you'll now get this line in the color picker. And so on one side of the line is bad contrast. On the other side is good. And you get ratings beneath on what the current ratio is and if it meets WCAG, AA or AAA ratings. Now, it's currently trying to identify what the background color is, but there is a little color dropper there, a little eyedropper if you want to manually select your background color. So that's always an option.
Cool. Did I notice that you were editing your Lighthouse score with DevTools?
I was editing Lighthouse with DevTools. I wasn't editing my Lighthouse score, but the score, I mean, it could use some improvement. Yeah, I get what you're saying there.
Right. So speaking of Lighthouse,
sure,
we should probably tell them about the new features we had in Lighthouse.
All right, sure.
Seems like a good idea. So last year at Google I/O, we announced that we were bringing Lighthouse into DevTools. And this was huge because it meant that everybody who had Chrome obviously has DevTools. Everybody who has DevTools, which is the Chrome users, now had Lighthouse. Nothing to install, no extensions, none of that business. So that's good. Now that kind of started us thinking, was there anything else we could do to kind of make Lighthouse more helpful to people? We're always thinking of that, but it moving into Chrome was sort of a turning point here. We want Lighthouse to act like a real lighthouse. We want it to kind of keep you away from the rocks and guide you towards other meaningful information that exists elsewhere in DevTools. So this year, I'm excited to announce that we are introducing some improvements that we hope will bridge the gap between Lighthouse and DevTools. And I'm just going to show you my favorite new feature of all time, which is View Trace. View Trace, to stretch the analogy to the point of breaking, lets you dig beneath the lighthouse. Yeah, we're looking at the foundation here. That's nice. So Lighthouse records a trace of your application as it runs. It loads your application, reloads it, grabs a trace, which is going to be details about JavaScript, network stuff, all those kind of underlying pieces of information. We thought, why not let people dig into the trace? We have it. It's sitting there. And turns out this is a really nice way to kind of see why you got a Lighthouse score. So let's walk through this. So I'm on paulirish.com, one of my favorite websites. And I'm going to run a performance audit. We won't pummel them with the PWA audit, just the performance audit for now, for time reasons and whatnot. So behind the scenes, this is going to be reloading the page, gathering a trace, analyzing it, and coming up with a pretty page and a lovely score. I think there. Oh yeah. So you get an 87.
Hey now.
Congrats. But you see now there is a View Trace button, and clicking this, it's actually going to take me right over into the Performance tab. And I can dig down into the trace that powered that Lighthouse score. And this is awesome because that trace was run on an emulated 3G network on a slow CPU emulation.
That's right.
And you can kind of figure out what exactly those audits were derived from. Let's say you had a critical request chain, for some CSS or something. And you could literally see that in the Performance tab, blocking the rest of your page rendering with screenshots. So to me, this is huge.
That's cool.
Huge.
Now I'm looking at this, and you're kind of, in a way, you're calling me out. You're calling my site out, at least, for its performance. So I was wondering maybe we should spend a few minutes and see if we can improve the score.
I think we can improve the score.
On the site a little bit?
I think we can improve it.
We can make it faster. And to make it faster, let's bring back one of the features that we were talking about earlier, local overrides. So, okay, first up, let's reload the page, just capture a trace of the page load. All right, now, what we want to do is measure from the very beginning of the HTML load right there to when the web fonts finish loading. It's right about there.
2,000 seconds?
At the bottom, yeah, we can see it's 2,000 milliseconds total. Right. All right, it takes a while. Now, in the green right there, WAF files. These are my web fonts, and there's a pretty big gap before they start loading in. That's no good. So we can fix this. This is a bit of code. I'm going to use resource timing API, some fancy stuff, copy it to the clipboard. But really, I just want to get the WAF URLs. Now we're going to come over here and use local overrides. We paste them in. Again, yeah, some multiple cursors.
Just ignore the multiple cursors magic. This is Paul Irish video foo.
All right. Link rel preload with our fonts. And I think, yeah, that's link rel preload. All right, we got them loaded in. So again, 2,000 milliseconds before. Let's reload with that local overrides changes. So we now are preloading. Did we preload?
Well, it's looking better.
Yeah. Yeah, the fonts are at the top, the green. Yeah, WAF 2. Yes, good.
Ooh.
And our total time is, 13.
It's a 33.33 repeating improvement.
That's
Very
not bad.
impressive.
That's pretty fast, too. Be able to make a change.
Very
just
impressive.
try it out and see what happens. So while we're talking about performance, there's a few other changes. So you might see something like this. If you're looking at a trace, you have the main thread. You may have iframes that are using site isolation, and those are going to be represented on a separate track. Also, any web workers, any service workers are positioned on different tracks. And the nice thing now is that as you select each track, the summary, the bottom up, the call tree, all that stuff at the bottom is going to be updating to reflect your track selection.
Very nice. It's sort of like a multi-process view.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's kind of cool, and it enables also another feature that I think is really powerful. So say, for instance, you're looking at a trace of your web app, and you see a flame chart like this. Now, in the flame chart, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's function names like complete work, create element, mount class instance, and you're like, yeah, mount class instance is taking time again.
Good old mount classes.
Great. What do we do about that?
Who knows?
Now, a number of JavaScript frameworks also use user timing to say when things started and ended. And usually this is very meaningful because it's talking about your components. When your components were mounted, when they were rendered. And so you can select the user timing track and now see that data summarized with the bottom up and the call tree details. And this is really great. Having this structural profiling data coming in via user timing saves time because otherwise you'd be writing all this like start and end like marks yourself. It's a big time sink to do all this. Here, DevTools is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you.
All right, Paul, you mentioned syncs and lifting.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things I wanted to cover is actually related to that, and it's async await.
A joke slide
Yeah.
in our presentation.
I think I was going to remove them before.
Probably should have.
This is the last one, though.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, no, there was two. There was two. Yeah.
A sync.
Or three.
Oh, wait.
There's a couple.
Is that a self-diving car?
That's a self-diving car.
Good.
So anyway, what I was going to say is, it's 2018, and it's the year of async await. Cool. So, async await is kind of part of everyday JavaScript development at this point. Last year, we added the ability to step through async await in DevTools, right? Amazing. This year, we're taking things a few steps further. If you're not familiar with async await, it kind of looks like this. You have a wrapper function, very important, with the async keyword. Inside of the body of this function, you can use the await keyword to kind of wait on the return value of a promise. And it looks like synchronous code. This is all promise-based under the hood, and that's lovely. But it's going to kind of run line by line to you. This will run asynchronously when it actually gets invoked. This is fine, certainly fine for application development. But one place where this is actually kind of annoying is down in the console.
Yeah.
So we are happy to announce that today the console has gained support for top-level await.
No wrapper around it.
No wrapper, no shenanigans.
That's nice.
So I'll walk through an example to illustrate this. So in this case, I'm going to await the response from this fetch call, which is going to apparently connect to a GitHub API that I Googled, and it was the first result. So we're going to search for Workbox. We're going to stick that in res. Then we are going to await, no wrapper, no promises, the value of res.json, so this streamed JSON response. And you notice it just dumps it straight into the console. There's no undefined or promises here.
Promise pending.
Yeah, exactly. With the little, oh, you got to wait and then expand it, get the value. Yeah.
Nope.
Clever hacks. We don't need them anymore. And then finally, I'm going to use a little DevTools trick, which is $_.
Ooh,
like
nice one.
bash,
Nice one.
this is the previous result from the console. So I can just do $_ items map them over the name, and now I have a list of the 30 most popular Workbox repositories.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is cool. So I've been able to step through line by line in sort of like a discoverable way, an async flow, and I haven't had to use any wrapper functions, haven't had to use promises, callbacks, none of that stuff. The console just kind of supports this out of the box.
Great.
The interesting thing is we're actually bringing this async first mentality to the rest of DevTools like the debugger. So one of the biggest changes you'll notice here is when stepping into async functions. Until now, if you stepped into an async function like a set timeout or whatever, we would pretty much just step over it, especially if it's a native.
Yeah.
So let me show you what I mean. So in DevTools last year, this is what set timeout looked like. If I click step into on this set timeout call, step into next function call, I end up on line 7.
Step past it.
That doesn't seem super useful.
Doesn't seem like an into.
Right, that's not much of an into. Now in DevTools, if I click step into on set timeout, I fall into the function. I can step through the rest of the function. So it's kind of an async aware step into. This is just one type of async though. So a lot of people right now are spreading their work out by, spread the work out on the main thread, or the alternative is you push your work off the main thread into a background thread using a web worker, let's say. One of the hardest parts of web worker development is actually debugging them. These are separate threads.
It's a little painful, yeah.
It's painful. You're switching context in the debugger, going from one thread to another. The sidebar is changing. You have to wait for post message calls to resolve, and you can't really do anything there. So we thought, what about making all that a little bit easier? Yeah. So now, let's say we have some main thread code, right? Running on the main thread, script tag, whatever. With new async aware step into, I can step into the worker creation.
Into the creation of the worker.
And it drops me off on the first line of the worker that I created.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
So we can step across a thread boundary in DevTools now. So this is really cool. And then you just continue on like normal. Another case would be, let's say I've created my worker. I've got this W variable with the worker in it. And I've got a breakpoint there. I can step into the post message call to the worker, and it will step across the thread boundary and into the worker. It will drop me off on the first line of my on-message handler in the worker. Yeah.
What about if in the post message from the worker back to the main thread, can we?
It's funny you should mention that. I actually have slides set up to show exactly that.
Oh,
so
really?
we could step into the post message call and get back to the main thread like there was no thread boundary at all, and it drops us off in the message handler. So this is super cool. It's almost like you're not debugging across a worker boundary at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's rad. All right, so before we finish up, I do want to bring it back to the console for a moment.
Gotcha.
There's some stuff going on in the console. In fact, in the console, there are a few functions that are available there and nowhere else. We call them the command line API, but there's some sneaky things. First up, I might have spotted before, copy method in the console. Take anything you want, throw it to the copy method, it copies it to the clipboard. It's so nice, you pass it like an element, it'll give you the outer HTML, pass it, anything else, it'll just stringify it as JSON and copy that to the clipboard.
Yeah.
Nice, handy little thing.
I did not know that this existed.
It's been there like 7, 8 years, yeah.
Right. Longer than I've been alive.
But anyways, just to refamiliarize yourself. There are some other methods in there that have now just gotten an upgrade too. The debug method has been around. What you can do is you pass a function to it, and it will essentially pause right inside of the function that you passed. But now you can pass a native function. So document.querySelector being an example, and what happens is it'll actually pause right as soon as any JavaScript is about to use that native method. You could also do it with alert too if you want to find out who is alerting. Pause right there. Similar story with monitor. Different function, it doesn't pause, but instead it logs to the console the stack trace and also the arguments that are being passed in. So this, you could say, tell me about all of the code that's using set timeout and what they're using it with.
So we would have seen in my previous example the function that I passed to it and all this stuff.
Exactly.
Beauty.
It's really nice. There's one more that's actually brand new, which is query objects. It's kind of cool, kind of tricky, so let's just start this out. We have a class. We create 2 instances of the class. The second one, we just add an extra property so it's unique. Now, later on, we're like, hey, query objects for foo. We pass back in that class. And we're going to get in the console an array of all of the instances of the class. In this case, it's pretty straightforward, but the really powerful thing here is that it is looking across the entire JavaScript heap and reporting back all of the instances that we know about. It's like taking a a big heap memory snapshot and summarizing it down to just those things. This is cool because it's not just what is currently available to JavaScript scope right now, it's the entire heap.
Yeah.
So you can look at, for instance, custom element constructors, or like, what are all my Canvas 2D contexts that are somewhere, and just get them dumped right here.
Nice.
Powerful stuff. Okay, I think that's it. So to wrap up, we covered authoring, accessibility, performance, JavaScript. And I wanted to mention, always grab Chrome Canary.
Paul, didn't I see you like literally backstage before we came on adding slides to the end of our deck?
Right.
Is there something that you wanted to tell the
Yes,
good people of this room?
There was a little treat.
Oh God, are we getting a live demo?
I think so.
We're getting a live demo.
You guys want to see this? All right.
We're getting a live demo.
I got one more thing to share with you.
All right, sit down.
Okay. Jason, as you know, web platform evolves quickly. As it evolves, we as developers need to feel comfortable working with these new APIs, these new objects, and make sure that our code runs well against all of them. And the console is our home base for this exploration. It's where we start from. So we were thinking that console could use some more power here. So we're introducing a brand new feature that we think revolutionizes how we work with the console. We call it eager evaluation. I'll give you guys a taste of it now.
Yeah.
Really, no other way to do it than with a demo. So let's switch over to my machine. All right, we'll just undock this and go full screen here.
Does anybody else know these commands, or is that just you?
Command-Shift-P.
Probably adds them as he needs.
Dock to right, undock. Those are my favorite ones. All right. So.
Today I learned.
All right, here in the console, I have a little line of code, right? We have a regular expression, and we're going to call exec on it. We're going to pass it a string.
There's a music joke in there.
All right, let's finish this off. Thanks. All right, now as I finish this expression, check out what happens. We get the result of this evaluation just positioned right beneath me, and I did not hit enter or anything.
What?
The cool thing here is, too, that this is going to update as I type. So if I come back and let's say, does this regex work if I have parens around the area code?
I'm gonna guess no.
Nope, no, doesn't. OK. Regex, a little brittle, could use some improvement. One thing I do see as far as improvements is this 0 to 9 character range.
It's like a feature for this.
All right, we could use a digit instead. We do have multiple of these, so we could just multiple selection /D. And yeah, OK, good.
Still working?
Matches too, we're good. We're feeling nice about this. Now, one last thing, Jason, I want to do is I want to pull out the area code from this text.
You're sure this wasn't just a reason to show off your whole triple cursor thing?
So while we have these multiple cursors here,
right.
Ooh, I like that. What we're going to do is we just add some capture groups to the regular expression.
Right.
All right. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, exactly. And so let's pull out the, is it 1? 1. Boom. All right. So in a few short moments, with not too much work, we managed to explore this API, find a bug, make an improvement, and get the result that we wanted. And this speed of iteration is really nice. No like going back in your history, changing that one thing. We just do it all live on the same line. Let's show another demo of this.
We should do a DOM demo.
DOM thing?
Yeah. You still have that page running in the background.
Hi. Yeah. We're still connected to this page with the hot ping.
The guy never closes anything.
All right. How about, OK. We got links on this page, right?
Yeah.
Let's grab all of the link text on that page.
Like you're like a screen reader.
Yeah, like I'm a screen reader.
Paul Irish, screen reader.
All right. OK, so what do we need? Query selector.
Query selector.
Okay.
Query selector all.
Query selector all. All right. Yeah, my bad. A tags. OK. We have them now. I don't know. We'll grab the text with like inner text or something. So we'll map over that. Map. Maps undefined. Maps undefined. Maps undefined. Node list. Node list.
It's a node list. It's not an array.
Right. No map on node list. OK. How do we change a node list to an array?
What's the newest, hottest way of doing this?
Audience participation? Suggestions?
Array from.
I like it. I like it. Yes. Let's do that. We'll
Can
do
we go deeper?
Array literal with spread. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Boom, ba, ba, ba.
Did that even work in Chrome? Who knows?
I love that. That's
Magic.
a nice one. All right, now we got an array, right? Map's the thing, map's the thing. All right, good.
Hey, there it is.
All right, so let's grab the inner text.
Inner text.
Good.
Looking good.
Great.
Good.
Let's clean this up. Let's sort it, get it all nice and.
That's a lot of white space.
Wow. Okay. Let's get rid of that. Filter.
Let's hope they have title tags.
The classic one, the filter Boolean.
Boss
Boolean
filter.
constructor.
I like it. He
You
still has some white space in there.
Yeah. All right. Trim.
Trim that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's trim.
Capital T. Blah, blah, blah.
Trim. Nope. At least
Yeah,
I
for
get
some typing problems. Oh, it shows you the error below.
that is handy. Okay.
That's pretty
Fingers.
clever.
Go. Yes.
Hey,
Good. All
there
right.
it is.
All right. Nice.
Very nice.
So I was able to craft that, not mess up too much, and we get back.
Figure widget.
It'll work. All right.
Who knows what that's supposed to be?
Now, the really powerful thing here is that eager evaluation is done in a way that we can guarantee there are no side effects. And we did this by introducing a new mode in V8 where we attempt to evaluate code, but if we know it's about to cause a side effect that changes the outside state, your application, the page, other parts of the DOM, we just bail and stop doing that work.
I tried for like an hour to break it. You can't.
No.
I'm going to try more, though.
The other nice thing is that eager evaluation, in addition to kind of giving you this result right underneath what you're typing in the console, enables some new completions in the console. So a completion is just, I type in document, I hit dot,
Oh,
and we see
Clojure UID.
Clojure UI.
My old friend.
Like we all do every time we see this.
Yeah.
Well, this is on this page anyways. But there's some tricky things here. Completions normally, as soon as you introduce like some parens, you are calling like a method.
Right.
Completions never continue to work. You just have to figure it out on yourself. But now we can try eager evaluation on that same string and power more completions. So to give you a show of how this kind of works, and Jason and I, as we've been rehearsing.
You're going to show off our Thumb War stats.
Yeah.
Should we try and settle this right here?
Okay.
One,
been playing
two,
Thumb
three,
Wars.
4. I declare a Thumb War. Bow.
And I've been keeping
Touch.
score. Touch. Won't going. All right, 5. We got 5 on Paul.
That's a tie.
You're done, man.
I like it.
And the nice thing is, I'm keeping this here, but we were thinking it would probably make more sense if we pulled this data down
Right.
from
We're going to put this up in the Thumb War API.
thumbwarsStats.com/API.
Hosted by Firebase.
Yeah. Now, if we pulled that down, it would probably be a string, right? So
be a
let's
string.
make this a string.
That's a bit opaque.
Yeah, and we need to turn it back into an object, right, guys? Right. So we'll just JSON parse.
My
this.
namesake function.
All right.
The JSON parse.
Now, take a look. I'm just going to hit dot, and what's in my completions?
What?
Jason and Paul.
We have a cameo in the console dropdown?
Yeah, check us out. We look good up there. So the cool thing here is, this is being evaluated under the hood, and it was determined to have no side effects, so now the completions are upgraded.
That's rad.
Really powerful stuff. This is just a taste of some of the things you'll be seeing. You try this out yourself. What you can do is grab today's Chrome Canary, pop into the console settings right up here, and you'll turn on eager evaluation. It will enable all the stuff that I was just covering. All right, Jason, I think that's it. Let's go back to the slides. Do we have anything else?
No,
I don't think we do.
I think we're good.
All right,
I think that's
thank
it.
you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.